Welcome to Chaos to Clarity. I'm meteorologist Bernie Rayno. You can follow me on X. I'm at AccuRayno. Boy, there's been lots of talk about next week, historic snowstorms. Listen, I'm not on board for a historic snowstorm really for anybody at this point, but I do believe there's two shots for snow in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast next week. One will be Thursday and Friday, and then I think the bigger event, potentially could be the weekend. Really quickly, though, there's going to be a sneaky event on Sunday across parts of Pennsylvania and New York State. It's not going to be a huge snow, but I bet you one or two spots you're going to see 5-6 inches of snow on Sunday. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's go full screen here. Here's what I'm talking about. This low, upper low. I'll show it to you on European here. Right in here. Okay, let me stop this. This is where are we at? We're in Sunday evening. It's this upper low right here. Now, what's happening is you've got a cold, dry air mass in place. I'll show you the surface map here in a second. But where this upper low goes will determine if we're going to get 5-6 inches in some spots or if we're looking at snow turning to rain. I think it's mostly snow in Pennsylvania. This is the European, and here's the key mood. This is the European. This is a GFS. GFS is a little farther north. You see that? GFS, European, GFS. No, European, GFS, European, GFS. GFS, European, GFS, European. That's 7 o'clock. Let me go to the ending spot here. There's the European, there's the GFS. The GFS has come farther south. The key is the farther north this system goes, the more likely you would get mixing in Pennsylvania. I don't think that's going to be the case. I believe the European's right, and this upper low is just a tick to the south, like it shows. What does that mean? The cold air gets maintained. Let me show you what I mean really quickly on the surface panel here. Let's put this back up here. And this is what I'm talking about here on Sunday, right in here. Watch this. This is the European. See how the storm? Right in there. It's all snow. There's even the GFS now has all snow, but a little bit of mixing here. But I think, you've got a 10:40 in the morning. You've got a 10:48 high here in New England. Look at all this cold air damming. This is going to be a sneaky snow. Mark my words. A lot of people, 1 to 3. I bet you there's going to be areas of 5 to 6. Let me show you our snowfall map here for this thing, and then I'm going to get into next week because it's a bigger system here. Here's our snowfall map for this right now, and you can see this area of 1 to 3. I'm telling you, somewhere in this area, and it's probably in here. It could be Altoona. I could even see State College. There's going to be, 4 to 6 inches of snow in here. Somewhere in this area, you're going to see 4, 5, 6 inches out of this. It's a sneaky snow. Get ready for it as we get into Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening. I think generally once you get toward Williamsport up toward Binghamton, I think it's 1 to 3 inches, Cody to an inch. But again, I would watch this area in here that someone doesn't get 5 or 6 inches of snow out of this. All right. Let's talk about next week. Very interesting weather pattern setting up for next week. I'm going to go back to the 500 millibar here, and I'll show you the two. Let's take them one by one. The first shot for snow is going to be on Thursday. Let's go full. It's with this. There we go. You've got this double trough structure here. This is the European. You see the system coming through. This is European Wednesday. This is the GFS. Now, the GFS is slower and a little sharper with this trough than what the European is. The European shows virtually no snow with this because what happens is all the cold air is up in here on the European, and the storm is down here. It moves this way, and there's virtually no snow on the northern side. The GFS has them more connected. You see how it digs the trough? You're getting a cold air injection in here. You've got a stronger system, a southerly flow, and then you're going to get a snow area in here from the Appalachians in the parts of New York State and Pennsylvania. That would be right in here. That's your first event here. I think overall this will end up being a minor event. But let me show you what I'm concerned about, and then we'll get to the bigger threat here. Let me show you the surface map, what I'm looking at here. Okay, let me show this to you, and then I'll go this on full so you can see it better here. So This is the Thursday event. This is the European, and you notice you don't see a lot of blue on this map. A little bit, not much. This is what I would think is a minor event. This is European. GFS is a little beefier, that you can get a little more snow in here. I suspect that the European is a little weaker with this trough. The GFS has the better, I think, has the better idea on this. So let me show you what I'm thinking. I think you're going to get a little band of snow in here like this. Probably something like this, where you're going to get a little band of snow. I don't know, coating to an inch or two, 1 to 3. I don't think it's a big storm. Somewhere in here, I think on Thursday into Friday, I'd look for a little accumulating snow in here. Let me go back to the surface map so you can see it, again a little better. Again, I think this is a minor event, Thursday into Friday, but I think it's something to keep an eye on here. Let me exit full screen. Let me go back to the surface map. Then we'll go back full so you can see it a little better here. So again, that's your first shot. That's going to be on Thursday in here. And you can see the difference in the modeling. European has a little bit. GFS is a little more beefy. I think the GFS is on to something here, that it'll be north and west of the 95. It'll come down in here. It'll be somewhere in here that you end up getting about 1 to 3 inches of snow with this. Maybe you can get a little more, but at least a coating to an inch or two. So that sets the stage Wednesday into Thursday. And I say that because as we continue to go offshore by Friday morning, what do you have going on here? You've got a baroclinic zone in here, right? And then you've got more energy digging southeastward. This is potentially the bigger storm next weekend. You're going to have a true shot of Arctic air trying to come in on here on the backside of the storm. And I think this does have the potential for producing several inches of snow. Now, on the flip side, it may just be an Arctic boundary. You get snow showers, more lake effect snow, and not many people get a lot of snow out of this. But I think this is the one to watch for next week as we move into the weekend. Let me show it to you here. We'll start with the upper air map, and then we will go to the surface map, and you can see what I'm talking about. So we're going to start this. We're going to start this Thursday evening. Let me go full. Here we go. This Thursday evening. This is European. All right. So you have the storm leaving, but see, this is the key, this digging trough. And you could already see you have some Arctic air coming into this where the lines are coming out of. Now, the GFS shows the exact same thing, but it's a little slower. See, there's the GFS. That's Friday evening. There's the GFS. The European is already taking that trough through. Here's the difference in the modeling right now, and you can see it. They both have a digging trough coming into the eastern part of the United States as we get into Friday, into Saturday. The GFS is deeper with it. It has more potential. So let me show you the European first as we go forward. Watch the trough. There we go. I mean, this is a nasty looking trough here. Now, right now, it doesn't have a little piece of energy out ahead of it. It's just an Arctic boundary. But I can tell you, if you read between the lines here, Friday morning, you know what I see? You have the potential here, even if the European is right, and it's not as deep with the trough as the GFS, because the GFS, I'll just show you what the GFS does quickly, and then we'll go through it. See, the GFS the GFS cuts off an upper low down in here, and this ends up being a pretty big snowstorm, west of the 95 corridor. I mean, you'd be looking at that would be a pretty big snowstorm, Saturday and Sunday. Now, I'm not sure the GFS is quite right with the depth of this trough, but I do think we definitely have a digging trough coming toward the East Coast Friday and the Saturday, and therefore you have potential for a bigger snow. Now, let me go back to the European. You can see the difference. Look at the European, and I'll explain it. Less of a trough coming into the east. See? It's in here, while the GFS has a full-scale cutoff upper low that comes right up the Appalachians. It would not be a snowstorm for the 95, though. Not where this upper low track is. It would be interior sections in the Northeast, but it would be a big snow. Now, let me take them one by one. Even let's say the European is correct. I think the European is going to end up being deeper with this trough. I really do. I don't think that the GFS may be too deep. I think the European's going to be a little too shallow with this trough. It's going to come a little deeper. And, if you look at this, I'm going to stop at Friday morning. What do I see? I see a little attempt here for a wave of low pressure to form along this boundary. You see this energy in here. Now, it needs to be a little farther to the east, just a little bit, but you could see the potential for this, that you're going to get a little wave on this Arctic boundary that would come in here, and you would get a quick, 2 to 4 inches of snow, 3 to 6, somewhere in here. Now, the model, the European's not showing that, but you could see how that could work, because what may end up happening is, instead of this trough being like this, like the European has it, what if it comes like this, and it's a little deeper, a little slower, then you get this wave to form out ahead of it. This wave comes right up the I-81 corridor here, and then you get several inches of snow in here. I absolutely can see that scenario coming up here as we get into Friday night, Saturday. I think that's a possibility, all right? The GFS a little different, a little deeper. Watch what it does. It really bottoms out. Now, it's slower, too, because it's deepening it, the upper low. Look at that. So if you follow the upper low, the way the GFS has it, the upper low would come like this, and your snowstorm will be back in here, in the mountains of eastern Kentucky, mountains of western Virginia, North Carolina. Hey, back toward Pittsburgh, you'd be in a pretty big snow area as well in here. It'd be a bigger amount of snow than the European. Now, again, if you take the European at face value, it's a coating to an inch or two in a lot of places, right? See? And, maybe you can get a few inches in the mountains of West Virginia. But again, if you look between the lines here, if this comes a little farther south, this little piece of energy comes out ahead of it, then you're looking at a pretty good storm, several inches of snow. Now, the GFS, a lot stronger. And again, the time frame we're talking about is probably Friday night into Saturday. The GFS, a lot deeper with this trough, right? And then it takes it up right along the just east of the I-81 corridor in here. All right. I want to give you an idea right now. Listen, there's difference in modeling, but I want to give you an idea of the area that you have to think about for accumulating snow next weekend. All right. We don't have any snow maps yet. No one does. I don't want to post snow maps. I wanted to tell you what I think. Based on what I'm looking at, I'm trying to blend all of this information into my head and give you an idea of the snow that we would see. Let me put this on full. This is where I think next Friday, if we're going to get several inches, I think this is the area to keep an eye on in here. All right? Would be in here. Back in here. That's the area to watch. All right? Is it 3 to 6? Is someone going to get 9, 10 inches of snow? I'm not sure, but I think this is the area to watch next week, Friday and Saturday. That initial storm, as I mentioned, I think it is a weaker system. The area may be similar, but if we're going to get a 7, 8, 9-inch storm, it's late next week, Friday and Saturday, and that's the zone I would look for now. Let's see how that works. It all depends on the depth of that trough coming into the east Friday night into Saturday. And oh, by the way, don't forget, and I want to go to the surface map here really quick again. And we have the college football games. And depending on the depth and speed of this trough, I mean, if the European's right, which is faster, bringing the cold air in, this would be an absolutely nasty night in South Bend. I mean, yeah, the thickness is 516. You're probably talking temperatures, just looking 516, probably in the teens. There could be bands of lake effect snow and snow showers. Now, the GFS, remember, because the trough is deeper and slower, it's cold, but it's more like upper 20s. I suspect the European's too cold. I suspect in South Bend it's going to end up being somewhere in the middle 20s. But if the European's is fast with this, then, I mean, you're probably in the teens. Actually, where the real field temperatures are in the single numbers, there's snow showers around, and it's a nasty game. Same story for Saturday. If the European's right and that trough is faster, then the cold air is in here faster. I mean, in State College, you have thicknesses, looks like 516, probably about 512. You're in the teens here with no better than 20 degrees, I wouldn't think. And it's windy, it's cold, there's snow flurries, just a nasty day. And, even some of this cooler air can get down into the Austin, Texas, and in Columbus Saturday night. My goodness, you're in the lower teens. Now, again, the European, the GFS is a little slower with all this. And if the GFS is right, if we look in State College on Saturday, it's no worse than you have thicknesses, it's lower than the 20s, in the middle to upper 20s, if the GFS is right. It all depends on how fast this trough gets in. So it's really going to be an interesting time Friday in the Saturday with this. Let's see how fast that trough is. All right. I'll continue to keep you updated on these things. But again, I want to see if I still have that drawing up here. Let's see. I didn't. So again, I want to end you with this. Again, this is the area to keep an eye on as we head into the latter half of next week. That second system somewhere in here, I'm thinking this is where we can get a decent sized snow. It all depends on that trough. If the European's right and it's just progressive, you've got snow showers, maybe there's a coating to an inch of snow. I could see how you get a little wave and you get 1 to 3. But if it digs a little more, it's kind of in between what the GFS is doing, then I think we could have some problems as well. So let's keep an eye on that Friday in the Saturday. And of course, the college football games are going to be interesting. No, regardless of the weather, but with the weather, it's even more interesting. All right. If you have any questions, you can contact me on X. I'm at Rayno. Again, have yourself a fantastic weekend. We're back with you early next week. I am off on Monday, but I'll be back on Tuesday.